Hello, everybody. Welcome to Stop Talking. I am Jake, and I'm very happy that you have decided to listen to this podcast. I'm very excited for this to be my first podcast for this podcast. That didn't make sense, but that's fine. As you all know, I had another podcast where I talked about horror movies. Unfortunately, I fucked up and deleted the RSS feed, so I can't get that back. So I thought, okay, we'll just make another podcast because I want to continue to do it, but I fucked up and deleted my other one. You could still go listen to like the 5 episodes that were on that podcast. They were me talking about different horror movies. I really enjoyed it, but unfortunately, like I said, I deleted it. So they no longer exist anymore. And I was like, you know what? People said they wanted a podcast, and I was like, let me make a podcast where I can talk about whatever I want. Do you know what I mean? Because I love horror movies, but I kind of put myself in a box where I could only talk about horror movies, but I want to talk about other things. I have a lot to talk about. Hence the title, Stop Talking. Now, some background on the title. I'm sorry, my allergies today. Whoa. The last 2 days, I swear to you, my allergies have been just awful. Just cannot seem to clear my throat. My eyes have itched so terribly. It's like my Zyrtec that I take doesn't even work. It's just like, no, we're not gonna work. No, thank you. We don't feel like working today. Like, that's your job, Zyrtec. Okay. Also, so fucking humid outside today. I live in South Carolina, unfortunately. And I walked outside this morning to go to the store. And it's so humid and so hot that my glasses fogged up and my phone screen got immediately wet with like a layer of just humidity. And I was like, are you kidding me? I hate this so much. I hate humidity. I'm not trying to be stereotypical white person, but I can handle the heat. I can't deal with the humidity. The humidity truly kills me. Tomorrow, it is supposed to be 100 degrees. I'm not going to make it. I'm a very sweaty person. I sweat a lot. Just naturally, I'm very, very sweaty. And my car's windows don't roll down. And the air conditioning works, but it only blows from the front onto the windshield. The blowers that face me have been broken for like 2 years because I went to go get it fixed one day and they said it was $1,000, and I was like, yeah, never mind, it's fine. So I'm a sweat really bad tomorrow, Beach. Um, well, right now it's 90, but it feels like 101 because the humidity is just disaster. How can I see how what the humidity is? Rainfall. We've got a lot. Oh, 62% humidity. Jesus Christ. Okay. Oh my God. I hate it. I hate it. I'm trying to move, right? And I'm like, I need to go back. My mom's like, well, why don't you check like Texas and all that? Do I want to go to Texas? No. Texas? No, ma'am. That shit, I would die. First day there, I'd melt into a fucking puddle. I couldn't do it. Nope, too hot. I need to go back north where there's seasons and cold. Not even cold. I love just like, there's nothing more that I love than like a 65-degree day in like the fall. You wear like a flannel and jeans. And there's a little crisp in the air, but it's still nice. Like you could wear just a t-shirt. Ah, I love it. Don't get that down here. It's either 95, like I'm in the pits of hell with Satan, or it's like really fucking cold. But I digress. As I was saying, oh my God. One second. I have to cough. These fucking allergies, I'm telling you. I was at the gym yesterday and I was like, I had planned to do my cardio day. Because when I go to the gym, I always plan to do at least one day that I go a week is just full cardio. Because I really want to keep my endurance and all that up. And I was like, nope, not today. Like, literally. I was like, starting to do the stair stepper, and I was like, I can't breathe. My allergies were just so bad. Like, I couldn't clear my throat, and I still can't. And I'm just like, oh God. So then I ended up just doing my strength training, and then tomorrow I'll do all cardio. But I was like, I can't, like, breathe. I don't know why my allergies are so bad. Like, so I was just like, I'm just gonna do my regular strength training and all that. So I did that. And I did the row machine, so I got some cardio in, so I was like, work. And oh my God, okay. I was at the gym yesterday. Right. Now, for those who know me, I am very gay. I'm a very, very homosexual. For those who don't know me, I am in fact gay. You probably could pick up on some, context clues. But for some reason, when I'm at the gym, it's just like I get bombarded by Milfs. MILF City. MILF City, bitch. The amount of times that I have been hit on by older blonde MILFs is astonishing to me. If I had $1, I'd be rich. I'd never have to work again. This one time, this woman came up to me. I was on the stair stepper, and she walked by and just unprovoked was like, "Looking good," and I was like, "Thank you." I never know how to react. I never like. I'm like, "Thank you," but I'm like, I don't know how to react to this. This one time, this woman came up. It's always when I'm on the stair stepper. I mean, I know I have a great ass, but like, I want the DILFs. Where are the DILFs? I want the DILFs to look at it and be like, nice, looking good, and I'd be like, oh my God, thank you. Let's get married. Do you know what I mean? But no, blonde, older MILFs love me. It happened at work one time. This blonde MILF was all like flirty with me, and I was like, I don't know what's happening. Do I just give off like like innocent boy who needs to be dominated by blonde MILF? I don't know. Is that the energy I give off? Like I'm this innocent young boy who's just gonna like, rail these MILFs. Like, no, thank you. That's not something that I foresee in my future. When I worked, okay. Now, the topic of this podcast was not MILFs, but this is where we've digressed to. The topic of this, I'll just get to it in a whatever, it doesn't matter. I worked at Walmart for like 6 months back in 2017, and there was this older blonde woman, and she was a part of the um, remodel team. So she was there every couple days to help with like the remodel of the store. And she had no joke. She was not subtle in any ways of just the amount of like hitting on me. Like I was scared. Like I would see her and turn the other way because I would be like, "Oh my God, she's here. I'm scared. She's going to come up and like just like harass me." Cannot remember her name, but she would always like be like, "Oh my God, like can you come and, lift this box up? You're so strong, your muscles, you're so strong. Oh my God." And then she literally like it was every single shift that I was there with her. Every time she was there, it was like just gonna hit on me. There was one time I was walking with somebody and she was behind me and I'm walking and I'm talking to my coworker and she's behind it and she's like, "Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, look at the like oh, I forgot what it was." But it was something to the effect of basically like she was basically commenting on how my ass and walk looked. And I was like, "Ah!" And she was like, "Oh, something about, oh yeah, walking in those jeans." And I was like, "Ma'am, God, I was what, 20 at the time? No, that's not how math works. I'm 25. Oh my God. Oh, I can't think about that. I'm 25. This was 2017, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 5 years ago. So yeah, I was 20. Oh wow, I'm amazing. I'm a mathematician. So yeah, I was like 20. She was probably like 45. Like, it made me so uncomfortable. But it's always what happens. I don't know. Do I just give off like innocent pool boy energy where the Milfs are just like, it's time to ride? I don't know. It's something that I struggle with daily, and I will eventually be able to hopefully overcome the onslaught of MILFs that I get on a daily basis. I have a straight friend who lives in Australia, and he's very jealous of the fact that I get hit on by MILFs, and he's like, send them my way, bro. And I'm like, I can try. Ugh, MILFs. But anyway, my podcast. So, a little backstory on the title of this podcast. It's called Stop Talking because throughout my life, I've been told, Jake, stop talking. I'm known to talk a lot. I'm known to talk fast, and I'm known to talk loud. And that's just me. And if you can't accept me, then you have no part in my life. No, I'm just kidding. Um, but growing up, I would always get trouble in school for talking. Jake, stop talking. Jake, stop talking. Jake, please stop talking. I'm sorry. I can talk. I don't want to just sit in class and not talk and make jokes with people because that's what I do. I was also very much like the the goody, oh my God, the goody two shoes. I don't know why that was so hard to say. I was also very much like a goody two shoes in school and just in life. My sister says I'm a goody two shoes. There's that song, Goody Goody Two Shoes, you don't drink, don't smoke, what do you do? And my sister was like, every time this plays, I think of you. And I'm like, that's a drag. That's like a roast. Which it's true. I have never had sex and I've never drank alcohol, so uh, if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. Isn't that the phrasing? I don't know. But I would always get yelled at for talking. And then also when I was in school, I was always, whenever there was somebody in my class, I'm in a class, right, with 20 other kids. And anytime two people got in trouble for talking and the teacher was like, I'm moving your seat, every single time, they would go, Jake, switch seats with them. So then I would get moved from my friends and have to go sit with people that I didn't like. And you know what? I hated it. I was very mad by it. It made me very, very, very upset every single time. I knew it. I knew it. I'm sorry. This apparently I have a lot of trauma from it. Jesus Christ. I was always. But that just shows you it's like, oh, you two got in trouble? Well, we'll move Jake because, he's good and he'll be good in any spot we give him, which is like, yes, I will, because I was always respectful of my teachers until they were not respectful for me. There was a couple times I never yelled at a teacher, but I was like, girl, it's your fault. Like, okay. So the topic of this podcast is childhood stories. Which I thought would be a cute, fun topic since, the title of this podcast is kind of based on growing up being told, stop talking. And even up until my adult life, I get told, Jake, stop talking because I talk a lot and I'm sorry, I'm gay. But I thought about childhood stories and I thought that could be really fun. And I thought it could be a good first episode for people who listen to maybe get to know a little bit about me and see where my trauma comes from. um, these allergies, I'm telling you, Jesus Christ. Childhood stories. So I have a list that I've compiled on my phone of a couple of stories. And, if more stories come to mind, I will tell them and think of them. But I have a couple written down. But I first want to talk about I was in, I want to think it was ninth grade. Was it ninth grade? Social studies. I had a teacher. His name was Mr. Smith. Um, all my besties from New York who went to school with me know exactly who I'm talking about. I want to think it was ninth grade. I don't think it was 10th grade. Wait, no. You know what? It might have been 10th grade. Because ninth grade, I had no. What grade was it? Oh my God. I think it was 10th grade. It was 10th grade. Yes, it was 10th grade because that was Yes, it was 10th grade. He lost my DBQ, and then I set it on his desk, and I said, "Here it is." And then he was like, "You never submitted it." And I said, "I came in here and I handed it and I set it on your desk, so you've lost it." And he said I had to redo it, and I was like, "No, I'm not redoing it. You lost it. Find it. I'm not redoing my data-based question." Isn't that what it's called? A DBQ? Data-based data DBQ meaning document-based question. Fuck. Still, oh my god, remember doing DBQs? I hated presenting and doing shit like that. But he lost it, and I was like, "Girl, what is your problem?" Like, no, I'm not. He was so like, he was awful. I, I'm sure he's a nice. I don't know. He was. I never found him to be particularly, um, nice. He was always very rude. Not to just come on here and drag my 10th grade social studies teacher, but it'd be like that. But he lost my DBQ, and I was very upset because he was like, no. And then I believe he ended up finding it and grading it and being like, "I found it, so you're okay." And I was like, "Great," because I wasn't working on a new one, because it's not my fault that you lost it, sir. Oh my god. Speaking of school and teachers, I was in. No, these aren't really childhood stories. So maybe I'll change it to like stories growing up, because I was in 12th grade, so I was 18 years old. I was a senior, and I was taking lifespan studies, and the teacher that I had was a complete and total biatch. She literally hated me for no reason. Like, no reason. Like, there was no reason for her to hate me with such disdain. I literally. She just did not like me, and I don't know why, what I did. She would be rude. She'd snip at me. Jake, stop talking. Which I get that. Okay, I'm sorry I talk, but I'm listening. I can multitask. Somebody could say something, I could turn to my friend and go, "Ha ha ha, ha you." We were handing in homework assignments, and this was towards the end of the semester, so she was in full blown hatred of me. Miss Horn, if you're listening, that's all I have to say to you. We were handing in homework, and I had legit left my homework on my bed. Because growing up, I had a bed, and the frame of it was wood, and you had the pull out dressers. But behind you was a whole like shelving system, and I had set my homework folder on there to remember. Obviously, I didn't remember. And she was going around, and I was like, I left, and she was collecting the homework, whatever. And I was like, I left it at home. I go, it's literally sitting on my thing. It's done. I can bring. And she just went and put her hand up and went, "No, no, no." And then she walks in and was like, "I can bring it in tomorrow." No, and cut me off. And I said, "Okay, then never mind." And you know what? She didn't get it because I didn't hand it in to her. Like, I did a presentation in that class, and it was on Alzheimer's, and she literally fucking did the presentation for me. Like, I would talk about something, I'd be like, "Alzheimer's," and then she would be like, "Now, guys, Alzheimer's is a disease where this and this and this happens." And then she'd look at me, and then I'd look at her, and then I would just click to the next slide, and then I would say something, and then she would take over. And she looked at me and she was like, "Now, what do we do with people with Alzheimer's?" And I was like, "What?" She's like, where do they go? What do we do? And I'm like, "What?" And she's like, "A nursing home?" I was like, "Yeah, nursing homes." And then I looked at her and I just clicked to the next slide. And then it was a whole slide about nursing homes. She hated me for what? And you know what I love, though? Is that my classroom for lifespan studies connected right to a classroom where they did, what the fuck is it? It's a cooking class. Nutrition resource. God, what the fuck was it? It was a cooking class. So, like, we cooked something in nutrition. Something in nutrition. it was a cooking class, so we cooked, and I had that the semester prior. So that teacher loved me. All my teachers loved me, except for Miss Horn. So my other teacher from that class would come in occasionally and be like, "Oh my God, Jake, how are you? Hi." And I'm like, "I'm great. How are you?" And then Miss Horn would be like, "What are you talking about? He's awful." She was a bitch. I mean, I passed the class and I don't care. It's whatever, but I just hated going there because she just did not. I had to do a research paper for that class on something, and I think I did cyberbullying. And you had to make a cover letter. And so or a cover page. And I made a cover page, and I made it in the I was like, ooh, instead of doing a boring old cover page with, just my name and shit, I'm gonna like draw it out and make it look like a phone with apps, cause cyberbullying. And I was like, this is gonna be so cool. Like, so I drew it out, pencil, color, whatever, made it, put on it, cyberbullying, this is this, like it was, handed it to her. She went, "What's this?" I said, "My cover page." She went, "No," ripped it off, handed me back my paper, and said, "You can hand this in tomorrow with a real cover page." I just wanted to tackle her. I couldn't, oh my God. She was just so mean to me, and I don't know why. I truly, I truly don't know what I ever did to her. I feel like she just genuinely, I don't know. I feel like she just had it out for me, and I don't know why. I couldn't tell you. I wish I could ask her, like, why were you such a bitch to me? But it's fine. But keeping with um school, on my list I have a couple of school stories that happened in school that I thought would be really fun to talk about. The first one is probably my most infamous story to ever happen because I was kind of a rumor around school, or like gossip, but people didn't know it was me. And that was the time that I cracked my head open in gym class. Yep, you heard that right, folks. Um, I cracked my head open in gym class. So, some backstory. When I would go to gym, the boys would go to the boys' locker room, get dressed, whatever. We would wait in the locker room for our coach to be like, "Go on down to the gym, guys. We're good." Okay. So, get to gym. I go to my dark, far corner of the locker room to change because I was uncomfortable. And so I changed, whatever. So we're standing there in the doorway of the little section in front of the door next to the coach's office, waiting for him to say, "Hey guys, go downstairs." So, group of teen boys doing stupid teen straight boy shit. Um, they were all jumping up, just trying to touch the ceiling because, again, teenagers, male boy teenagers, being stupid. And I'm standing there, I'm like, oh my God, I can't stand people. And they're jumping, and nobody can touch the ceiling. Jumping, trying to like touch it with their hand. So I was like, move over. Jumped, touched the ceiling. I was like, I give me the gold medal. Do you know what I mean? No one fucking cared. It wasn't like anybody was like, "You're amazing, Jake. Oh my God, we'll actually let you participate in class today." No. But I was celebrating because I was like, I'm the only one that can touch the ceiling. I'm better than everybody else. And I. Now, mind you, I was never one to participate in such stupidity. Like I said before, was very much kind of like a goody two shoes of like, I'm gonna behave and I'm gonna follow the rules because I'm nice. So I jumped to touch the ceiling. In my celebration of my iconic victory of touching the ceiling, I backed up a little bit too far. And when I went to go jump the second time, I had backed underneath the door frame, the metal door frame. Jumped full force and just smacked my head on the door frame. And I hit the ground I like land back on the ground. And I'm like, oh my God. My first thought, I looked around, great. Nobody saw. Because that shit's embarrassing. Like, oh, you just fucking smacked your fucking head on the door frame. That would just like, I would never live that down. Nobody ever saw. So I was like, great, I'm good. Okay. Second thought, damn, my fucking head hurts. So I'm standing under the door frame, rubbing my head because, ow, I just fucking hit it on the door frame. And I was like, damn. And so I'm rubbing it and I'm rubbing it. And I'm like, nobody saw it. I was like, oh my God. And then like I'm rubbing. And then I happen to like look at my hand. And there's just like the tiniest bit of blood in like a hair pattern because I'd been rubbing my hair. So the blood on the hair wasn't a lot. And I was like, oh shit. There's like a little cut on my head. I was like, damn it. And so I'm holding it and I'm rubbing it. And then I'm rubbing and I'm holding and I'm like, oh, there's some blood. It's fine. I'll just get some paper towel, wash it. We'll be good. It's whatever. And I'm holding it and I'm rubbing it. And I look back down at my hand and there's a little bit more blood. And I'm like, that's fine. Put my hand back. And mind you, I'm still standing in the doorway. I didn't really move. I'm still where I was. And I'm holding my head and I'm just like I said, just holding it, putting pressure on it just because it hurts. So I'm trying to like soothe the pain. And then all of a sudden, the top of my forehead above my left eye starts to get warm. And I'm like, what in the world? And so I just rub above and then I look at my hand and my whole hand is just covered in blood. Covered in blood. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I ran back to the corner. I didn't run. I quietly hid my bloody hand, walked back to the corner of the locker room where my locker was, and then proceeded to bleed, rubbing it on my hand, rubbing my hand to get the blood off, and then rubbing my hand on my white shirt to then rub my head again, and then rub it on my white shirt to clean off my hand, to then have to rub, like, I stood there waiting for the coach to say, everybody go down, so then everybody could leave, and then I could go to him and ask to go to the nurse. Okay, so there was a lot of things that in this, I made a lot of weird choices because I wasn't thinking straight because I was bleeding from my head in school. So, mind you, the boys' locker room is on the second floor of the school. There's a tiny fucking ass hallway that's probably like 4 foot wide, and then right across that hallway is the nurse's office. So I easily could have seen the blood, walked out the door to the nurse's office, but instead I decided to go back to my locker in the locker room and wipe blood off of my head and onto my white gym shirt for maybe 2 minutes. And then the coach goes, everybody go down. They leave. I I walk into his office with my hand on my head, keeping the blood from dripping in my eye. White shirt, covered in blood, handprints, blood. The inside of the shirt had blood on it because I ran out of place to put it. And I go, can I go to the nurse's office? Like I had a small cut on my finger. Just like, can I go to the nurse? The look on his face was of sheer fucking terror. He literally was like, what happened? And I was like, I hit my head on the door frame. I jumped and I was underneath it. And he's like, oh my God, yeah. Brings me to the nurse. The nurse looks horrified. Oh my God, what did you do? Oh my God, did you black out? Did you pass out? I'm like, no, my head hurts. I didn't black out or pass out. I'm fine. I'm just bleeding. So the nurse was like, oh my God. She tried to look at it and she was like, I can't see anything. Just, can you go wash your head? So I'm like, trying to clean my head off. I'm like, this is stupid. So I literally just stuck my head underneath the faucet to clean, and she looks and she's like, oh yeah, you're probably going to need a couple staples. And I'm sitting in the nurse's office, and I'm sitting there, and this girl is in there too because she doesn't feel good, and she's in my math class. She's like, "What happened?" I said, "You girl, you don't want to fucking know." And so I'm sitting there, and she's sitting there like sick, and I'm sitting on the other like chair, and I look down, and I'm still in my bloody t-shirt, and I looked at the nurse, and I was like, "Can I go change my shirt, please?" She's like, "Yeah, just be quick." I said, "Okay, thank you." Go back into the locker room, change my shirt. Now the bleeding has stopped at this point. My shirt's bloody. I look it off. I look. There's blood on the fucking um locker room like seat chair thing that like goes around. Clean that off. So there's probably still blood in the grains of the wood at my high school from me. I'll always be a part of Whitesboro High School. I go back to the nurse. Unfortunately, she makes me throw the shirt out because it is a safety hazard. There's blood all in it. And I just wish that I'd taken a photo of it because it looked like I was in Carrie and I got dumped pig's blood on my head. Like, that's what it looked like. Nurse calls my mom. She tells my mom that I have a gash on my head and I'm bleeding, but I'm okay. So I look at the girl next to me and I go, "Oh, my mom's in a panic right now," because using the word a gash on his head is probably not the best terminology, especially when you're talking to my mother who gets panicked at everything. My mom takes me to the ER, or the doctors. I had to get 3 staples in my head, and they were in there for, I want to think, 2 weeks. Because the thing is like, it was a small little cut on my head, but head wounds bleed a lot because that's where all your veins and your blood pumps. So like, the smallest little like gash or wound in your head is gonna bleed a lot. So it wasn't as bad as like all of the blood on my shirt made it seem like. But I had those 3 staples in my head, and I was out of gym for 2 weeks, which was really fun. And then just around school, there were like somebody like cut their head open in like gym. Oh my god, like somebody cut their head. And then one of my friends that I had the following year, we were really close. And I met, okay, so I wasn't friends with this person in, I think this was 10th or 11th. No, I think this was 11th grade. Because then 12th grade, I made friends with these new people. And I was telling them this story, and they looked at me and they went, "Wait, that was you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that was me." I was the stupid idiot that cracked his head open in gym class. And I do have a photo of the staples that I took, and I would be sitting in class and playing with the staples, just rubbing my fingers over it. And there's still a little, like, I can feel the dent area where they were put in, like the cut area. Like, I can feel, like, it's funny. I can still feel that. And then leading into the next story, because the next story also involves this story. The night before I went to get my staples taken out of my head, I stabbed my foot with a pair of scissors. So, okay, it was a rough couple of weeks. Um, for me, I was sitting in my bed at home, and I was home alone because my mom was at work. She worked evenings, so she worked till I think it was like 3 to 11. And so I'm sitting there, barbecue sauce on my titties. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sitting there, and I'm like cutting up this paper for a project that I had to do. Sitting in my bed, my cat was sitting next to me that I had at the time, and I'm cutting up the scissors, and like I'm sitting in my bed, and you sit in bed, you start to kind of slouch. So I put the scissors down next to me, and now I'm sitting crisscross applesauce, right? And I'm sitting like that, and I put my hands on the bed next to me to like push myself up so I could sit up more. And I when I did that, my hands, my right hand was on the scissor. And so when I pushed down, it pushed the metal parts of the scissor up. So when I sat myself up and moved my legs in, my heel went right into the scissor. And so then I'm like, oh shit. I pulled the scissors out and I'm like, oh my God, blood, bleeding. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm holding my heel, the side of my heel, and I'm putting pressure on it, and it hurts, but I'm putting pressure. I'm trying to get out of bed. My cat's sitting there, not doing anything, not helping at all. And then on my one right leg, hop to the bathroom. I'm holding my right foot in my hands, and I'm hopping to the bathroom to get my foot in the bathtub. And it's bleeding, it's bleeding. I turned the cold water on to kind of numb it, to get it, whatever. I'm like, I just have to stop this from bleeding, and I'm whatever. I'm like, oh my God. Clean, putting pressure, putting the cold water on it, putting pressure. Finally, it swelled enough that it stopped bleeding. So I'm like, great, oh my God. So it's not bleeding. I'm like, okay. So I got a sock, and I put the sock on, and I stuffed it with paper towels and tissue paper. Not tissue paper, toilet paper and paper towel. And I stuffed it, and I thought, okay, well, because I had to go to bed because I had school. Or no, I was off the next day, I think. I think it was the weekend. I don't know. But in case it bled in the middle of the night, it would bleed into the toilet paper and not my sock in bed. So I get whatever. I open the door to my bathroom. There's just a trail of blood drops from the bathroom to my room from when I was hopping. It's on the wall. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, if my mom comes home and sees this, she's going to be crazy. So I clean all that up. I go to bed. I wake up. My heel's swollen. I can't walk on it because I put pressure on my heel and the pain would just shoot through. And I'm like, hey, Mom, so this happened. And she was like, oh my God, get ready. We have to go get the staples out of your head. And now you've just hurt yourself again. I literally, the next morning, I went to the doctor to get the staples taken out of my head. And then I'm sitting there, and my mom was like, oh my God. So I get up out of the doctor's chair, and I forgot that my heel was fucked up. I put full pressure on it. The pain that shot through my leg, I almost fell over and collapsed. And then it squirted blood out. It was so gross. And then so yeah, for like a week, I couldn't walk on it. Couldn't go to school. Well, I did go to school, but I couldn't walk. I'd have to like walk on the ball of my foot because if I put pressure on my heel, it was just excruciating pain. And then I think I ended up going on vacation, and so then I would put it in the salt water, the ocean, and it was good. It got better. But I never got a stitch in it. I probably needed a couple stitches, honestly. I'm just lucky it didn't hit anything bad because it went right in. And honestly, if you look at my foot now, you can still see exactly where the scissors went in. You can see the little line of where the scissors went into my heel. Because it didn't go into my heel, it went into the side of my heel up under the skin. So if I flex my foot, there's literally a part of my skin that puffs up in the shape of the scissors. And I was like, oh my God, help me. It was a rough, like, month before that April vacation. Cracked my head open, needed staples, and then stabbed my heel with a pair of scissors. One thing that I am lucky with is that both times I never freaked out and went crazy. I very much was like, did I make dumb choices like cracking my head open and not going to the nurse? Yes. But my first thought was, okay, just stop the bleeding. And then like my heel, I was just like, I need to just make sure this stops bleeding. Oh, it was terrible. It was so bad. Like Oh my God, the pain that would shoot up my leg. I couldn't even handle it. So, moving on to my next story, which also happened in school. However, this happened in elementary school. And this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down. No. This is a story that I don't think I've ever actually told anybody in my life other than like my mom, and my dad knew because he was still alive then and I was like in 4th grade. Okay, so I've never told this story to anybody. So this is an exclusive on the podcast. I was in 4th grade, I want to think. I'm trying to think of who my teacher was. I want to think it was 4th grade in elementary school. So I was what? 8. Hey Siri, how old are kids in 4th grade?
Students are usually 9 or 10 years old.
Okay, so I was 9 years old. And it's towards the end of the day. And I say to my teacher, can I please go to the bathroom? And she says yes. So I go to the bathroom and I pee and I had to poop. And I was like, I didn't like pooping in school, like being a child. And even as an adult, like I hated it. I always thought it was so uncomfortable. I never liked it. I will pee, that's fine. But having to do that, I just was always so uncomfortable having to do that in school. And especially because the boys' fucking toilets in school were fucking disgusting. Like I can't I can't think about it or I'll get okay. Anyway, I'll get okay. I'm sorry. I was thinking of how gross the toilets were, but I'm fine now. So I never did that. So even in elementary school, I hated it. So I was like, I'll just wait to go home because we're leaving and I'll be home in a couple minutes after. Like, we have like 20 minutes. So I go pee, I come back, I sit down, I'm like, oh shoot. I really have to poop. And I was like, I can hold it. I can hold it. It's fine. You can probably see where this story is coming. And I didn't want to have to ask my teacher to go back to the bathroom because I thought that's just that I was embarrassed. Like I don't want to have to ask, "Hey, can I go back to the bathroom?" So I'm like, I can hold it. So we're standing outside the classroom with our backpacks getting ready to go to the bus. I then fully shit my pants. To put it in lighter terms, I fully shit my pants. Couldn't stop it. I tried to stop it. It happened. And so I'm standing there outside my classroom with everybody around me with my backpack on. I shit my pants. And then the moment I do that, okay, guys, time to get to the bus. Let's all go. And so I go to the bus and I've got shit in my pants. And so I'm in the bus and I'm sitting in the bus and I'm like, please, nobody sit next to me because I've got shit in my pants and it smells. And I can't believe I'm telling this story. The whole bus smelled like shit. People would get on and be like, oh, it smells so fucking bad. Oh my God, the bus smells like poop. And I'm sitting there like, please, nobody notice that it's me. And I'm 9 years old and I don't know what to do. I'm just like, I want to get home so I can get this out of my pants. It was like the longest bus. I was the first stop on the bus. Like, we go right to my house and I'm home. It was the longest bus ride in the world. Sitting there and this girl's sitting next to me and I'm like, oh my God. And I'm sitting there and I've got shit in my pants and I'm like, oh my God, I should have just asked my teacher to go back to the bathroom, but I didn't have time. And I was like, oh my God. I get home and I don't remember what happened, but I'm pretty sure I told my mom, I pooped my pants, and they threw up my underwear that I had, and like I was like I didn't want to, and they were like, "Oh my god!" And it was just the most embarrassing thing in the world. And I was like, "Oh my god!" And I've never told that story to anybody before. I don't think I've ever mentioned it to anybody. My mom probably doesn't even remember it, but I remember it. And now you know where my trauma has come from. I'm ninth grade, and I was like, I can hold it, and then I couldn't hold it, but there wasn't time to go back to the bathroom. And then by the time I shit myself, it's like, plop. Okay, guys, let's go to the bus. And then I was just on the bus, and then the whole bus smelled like poop. And I was sitting there in poop, like, I just want to go home. Luckily, it wasn't like diarrhea. Oh my god, embarrassing. If people had found that out, it would have been awful. Like, oh my god. That was like one time, God, I probably was in second or first grade, and I peed my pants. Yeah, I peed my pants, and I went to the nurse, and she didn't have any boy underwear. So I had to wear girl underwear that had little frills on the top and the legs for the rest of the day. And then I got home, and they had princesses on it. And I got home, and I was like, I peed, and all they had for me to wear was girl underwear. And my mom thought it was really funny. It was funny. It was like they were white underwear, and they had princesses on it. And they had little frills on the top waistband and the leg waistband. And I had to wear that for the rest of the day. And I remember making sure that my pants were pulled up all the way. My shirt was down because I didn't want anybody to see that I had purple, white princess underwear on because I peed my pants. It was awful. There was this other time in elementary school where this was definitely, I was older, so I was probably in fifth grade. I had flip flops on, and one of the classmates that I had looked at my feet and looked at me and went, "Why do you have old grandpa feet?" And no shit, I did not wear flip flops ever again until like 4 years ago when I was like 21. Like, I never wore flip flops again or anything that showed my toes because my classmate looked at me and said, "Why do you have old grandpa toes?" And that fucked me up. That fucked me up, fam. I'm telling you. I never wore flip flops until probably like 5 years ago. 4 years ago, probably. Never. Sandals, no. I always had shoes. I never liked, like, I was so always uncomfortable in my body. So, like, I would never wear shorts because I didn't like that my legs had hair on it. Because my family, they would always kind of like poke fun at like me, like, especially in puberty. Like, there'd be jokes about, like, "Oh, your voice cracked. Oh, you hear it? Oh, his voice cracked. Ha 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 ha." Innocent joking, but like it affected me a lot. So I never wore shorts because I didn't want people to make comments about my legs and having hair. And so like I would always wear pants. I would never wear shorts. I would always wear pants. I'd always have pajama pants on. I remember one time I went to the beach in Boston. My mom and my niece and I went for like a weekend, and I had jeans on at the beach because I was just uncomfortable. Now I don't care. Now I love my legs. Now I'm posting ass pics on Twitter. We've really made progress. And I wear flip flops now and like slides. So you know what? That's called growth, and I'm very happy about it. So what we've learned about me so far is that I've cracked my head open, I've stabbed my foot with scissors, and I shit my pants. And I peed my pants. And I've worn girls' underwear. I'm really just exposing myself and all my traumas in this first episode. I have another story here written, and this one is probably one of my favorite stories to tell because it's just so funny. I was 12, 13, I want to say. My dad was still alive, so I was probably 12, 13. And we would go camping at a campground every fall and summer. So, we've been doing it. We stay in a cabin. We'd go to the water park that was there. It was a tradition. And, some summers, some fall, that there would be like, you'd hear a lot of talk about like, oh, the bears up at Old Forge are like really bad. They wouldn't attack people because they're so used to being around people up there. They would just kind of like invade people's camps and like take their food in coolers. And we've had encounters with bears up there before, walking through our campsite, eating food. Well, this one time we went up, I was probably 12, and we were having a fire outside my sister's cabin, all sitting around, and there was a cabin next to hers, and when there was a cabin, there was a second cabin further down. And from where our campground was, we could look down and see them. And they were all sitting around their table and they had their lights and whatever. And out of nowhere, my mom goes, all those people down there just ran into their cabins. That was it. My sister was gone. You know in Looney Tunes, when somebody runs so fast it leaves a dust outline of them? That's what it was like. Her chair was flipped over. Her door was shut. There was a dust cloud. It was like, woo, 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 woo. She was gone for the night. She doesn't do it. She don't fuck around with that shit. My dad goes, Jake, let's go look. So I say, okay. So we go down to like investigate because we know it's a bear. And we go down. We're talking to the people. And they go, yeah, we were sitting around our campground. They go, and we looked over, and there was just a bear sitting on our picnic table eating the key lime pie and the coffee. I, being 12, thought that was the funniest thing that I've ever fucking heard. I was like, there's a caffeinated bear high on sugar running around. I have to go tell my mom and aunt and family. So, sorry, I have to take a drink. A lot of talking with allergies. I can't breathe. So I run back up to our cabin to go tell my mom, hey, there's a caffeinated, sweet-filled bear. It's so funny. Caffeine. And I'm in my cabin, and I walk, and I see my aunt by the picnic table. And I'm like, oh my God, hey. I call her name out. I'm like, Aunt, my aunt. And I see her, and she's picking up, like, food scraps off the ground because there's bears around, so she doesn't want the bears to come in, so she's, like, picking up the food, like scraps from earlier. We had dinner, hot dogs or something. So I look and I go, Aunt. Well, my aunt, in quotation marks, jumps up onto the picnic table. And that's when I realized that it's not my aunt, it is a black bear. And I'm probably 7 feet away from it. To be fair, it was dark. They had put the fire out. It looked just like my fucking aunt was picking up shit from the ground, which is something she'd do. Why would I expect there to be a bear back at our cabin? Where's my family? My mom and my aunt were sitting here when I left, and now they're not. I go, Aunt! Bear jumps, it was the cub. Bear jumps up onto the table. I scream. High-pitched 12-year-old boy scream. Turn around, and I sprint right back to the other people's cabins. I had on my footy pajamas and my boots, and I was a fucking track star bitch. Usain Bolt had nothing on me. I just took off running. I got to a tree that split in two. I jumped through that shit. Going around? No. I jumped through. I got back and was like, oh my God, the bear was in. My dad, I don't even know where my dad went. He wasn't there. And I look at these strangers and I'm like, can I stay here? And they're like, sure. And I say, okay. And then I left and I ran back to try to get, because I wanted to just go back to my cabin. So I had to go back. So I run. And I run back through the neighbors, because it was my sister's cabin. There was a cabin that sat back more in the woods, and then there was these people cabin with the bear. So I ran through these person's cabin, the second people, run through my sister's cabin, get to my cabin, banging on the door. It's locked. Banging on the door, let me in, please, please, please. My mom opens it. My mom and aunt are in there. They're like, what are you doing? I said, the bear. And I ran, and I was coming up to tell you that it was caffeinated. And I look, and I go, Amber. Well, my mom absolutely lost it when I said that I called the bear Amber, my aunt's name. She was done. She didn't hear any of the rest of the story. She was laughing hysterically, and I'm sitting there crying on the bed like it's not funny. And she's like, yes, it is. Ha ha ha. Come to find out, what happened was, it's so funny, this story. I love this story because there's so much like interchanging, weaving storylines. My sister runs into the cabin. We see the people run. Me and my dad go down. My aunt and my mom are left at the campsite. My mom says, I gotta go to my cabin. Can you come with me? She goes, yes. So they go there. They're like, I gotta pee. Do you want to come with me? So they go to the bathrooms, and my aunt grabs my mom and it's like, there's a bear. And they see the bear walking into my sister's campground. So they turn around and they go into my mom's cabin, our cabin. And then they're in the cabin. They're like, oh, crap, crap, whatever. There's a bear. They're looking. And my mom says she looks outside and she sees the bear sprint right through our campground back into the woods. And that was when I saw the bear and I screamed and ran back. The scream scared the bear and it sprinted the opposite way. And that's what my mom saw. And then 4 minutes later, I'm banging on the door, please let me in. So it's like this weird story of just like interchanging things that happened that night. And it's so much fun to tell. Like, I love telling that story. I always find it to be fun. People love it because it's so funny. Especially when I tell them that I called a bear my Aunt Bert. It was terrifying. It jumped because I genuinely thought it was my aunt. And then out of nowhere, she just jumps onto the table and I'm like, oh my God, that's not my aunt, it's a bear. We always had bear encounters up there at the campground though. Um there was one time my mom and dad had left a pan of spaghetti on our porch of our cabin, and they were woken up into the middle of the night by the sound of like the bag of cans and all that, and they said they looked out the window and there was just a giant bear sitting on our porch eating the leftover spaghetti that was left out that night. I didn't see it because I was scared. I wish I had, but we always had bear encounters up there. And they never like attacked people because they were so used to being around people. They would just come in, get some food, leave, be like, hey, what's up? We're just checking in. It was always fun. I was like, oh my God, freaking bear. Thought it was my aunt. It was so funny. It was so good. I love that story. Just because I just remember being so scared. Do you know who I want to hear from? I want to hear from those people that sat in that back cabin. Because I remember sprinting back and they were just sitting outside there. Like they didn't care. They were just sitting outside in their chairs by their campfire during all of this. So somewhere out there are two people that tell of a story of this young boy screaming and then running through our campground screaming it's a bear. And then he runs back and he's screaming. I wish I could find them and be like, so what did you witness that day? Well, we witnessed a son and his father walk down to this cabin, and then all of a sudden the son comes running back, and then he screams bloody murder. Luckily, it was the baby bear, and it was not the mama bear. But I don't really think the mama bear would have done anything either. I think she would have ran away. But it's so funny that my mom also looked out and saw the bear run through our cabin because it was running away from my huge, high pitched squeal of a scream. But it was funny. It was fun. I really, it's always, I love that story. I love camping. I miss camping. I have so many fond memories of like camping and going to the campground and playing cards and sitting by campfires and deer and bear. Ugh, I miss it. I haven't gone camping in ages. Uh, it's so nice. I love it. I'm from New York, so I love the mountains and forest and climbing mountains and it's so much fun. There's nothing like it. I think it's just beautiful, especially in the fall when you get all the leaves and shit. I won a the campground I used to go to. It's called Old Forge Campground. You want to look it up? It's in New York, upstate, near the Adirondacks. They had a Hawaiian weekend, and we were up there, and I won a limbo competition. So that was really fun. I was the limbo king. I was like, work, of course I am. And then they have like an outdoor like movie theater where they would like play movies on the screen. You could sit, and I remember watching the Lost World Jurassic Park there, and it freaking me out because we were outside in the woods and we're watching these velociraptors attack people, and like the beginning credits where it's like boom, 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 boom. Oh, I love it. I have such fond memories of going there. It's so, oh, I love it. But I hope that everybody enjoyed this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed my many, many childhood stories. Those were just a couple of them. I have so many more that I can do for future episodes. Please let me know which ones you enjoyed the most. Um, please remember that you guys got an exclusive pants shitting story that nobody else knows about now. But I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of format. So, my plan for this podcast is like each week to just like talk about random crap that happens, childhood stories, horror movies, my love, different topics. Like, send me some topics you want to hear me talk about on Twitter. It's at It's Me Jake J. Most of you probably follow me. If you don't follow me, that's the I'm always on Twitter. So like if you send me a message or some shit, I will respond to it because I'm constantly on it. You can follow my Instagram too. I'm not on that as much. And you can follow my TikTok too. Everything's It's Me Jake J because branding. But yeah, let me know what you want to hear me talk about, give my opinion on different movies, franchises, TV shows. Do you want to hear more childhood stories? What kind of stories do you want to hear me talk about? Do you want to hear me talk about my trauma? Do you want to hear me talk about my bullying? No, I'm just kidding. That is a depressing topic that we're not going to discuss. But thank you so much. I know at this point you're probably like, oh my God, Jake, stop talking. But that is the point of this podcast. That's why it's called. You know what you signed up for because you read the title. But thank you so much for listening to this first episode. I appreciate every single person who listened and made it this far. Please let me know what you think. Let me know what kind of topics you want to hear about. And I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you guys have a great day,